Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry I haven't really uploaded anything recently. That's mostly because my last video, which I put a lot of effort into, and was trying to be as professional as I could, give my opinions, has received a comment that was quite rude and mean. And it has 3 dislikes, and I'm just new at YouTube, so I've never got a comment or a like or a dislike, and all my videos getting is dislikes and a comment which is basically just saying everything you say is wrong, which can't be true because it's a review on an album, so these are all down to opinions. So to say my opinions are completely wrong is him being opinionated. And then at the end he's just basically said get over it, so basically get over it and like it because I say so. It's very controlling, it's very opinionated, just bullies. So that kind of knocked me down, and I didn't really feel like doing a video. I'm still proud of the video, like I think it's a really good video with valid points and very professional. And I was positive as well as negative, where a lot of YouTubers, if they really don't like an album, they will trash the band, the album, and just basically say they shouldn't keep going. Which I don't think is professional. If you're a reviewer, you have to see the good and the bad, and you have to do both. Even if you disagree with the good points, you have to acknowledge it. That is what I did. So, didn't appreciate the dislikes. I don't think they should be there. I disapprove of the comment I got, basically just saying everything I say is wrong. That's wrong because it's an opinion, so it can't be wrong unless it's facts. It wasn't. And the things he said were kind of ridiculous. So basically, something I said, an album's a concept, and at the start of the album, the lead singer's just talking. And I said I didn't really like it because he's done it in another album, so he's just copying. And the guy said, well, it's a concept, so he has to talk. There's been so many bands who've done concept albums, and none of them really talk. They just sing the story. So clearly it's wrong. You do not have to do that. So, yeah, I felt bad. I felt bullied. I felt like I'm not allowed to basically have an opinion because my opinion's different. It's bullying. But I replied nicely to the comments because it's the right thing to do. And clearly he's very passionate about the band, and having such a passion in something shouldn't be disregarded. It shouldn't be removed. You just need to, be a bit self-controlled in it. Like, I have a lot of passion for music, I have a lot of passion for Avenged Sevenfold, and I wouldn't like to lose that. But you need to be level-headed about it, and you need to be nice. But anyway, on to what this video is. This video is me basically saying bands that are underrated. So, obviously it's going to be rock and metal bands which are underrated. They don't have a lot of recognition, people don't really know about them. And I think they deserve it. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get them a lot of recognition because I don't really get views, but I just want to put it out there, so if anyone does watch, they can go and hopefully find another band to like, because I always enjoy finding a band I like, because my standards are quite high, so I find it difficult to actually find new bands. So, but when I do, I love it. It gives me more to listen to. So, let's begin. First band, Affiance. This is a band that's done a few albums. I only have 2. They're 2 recent ones. The guitarist is very talented. The guitarist does solos. Sometimes he'll do 2 solos in a song. And he does a lot of leads throughout the song. He's a bit of a show-off, not in a bad way. I enjoy it when musicians show off, because they're showing what they can do. They're showing their talent, and I like that. I don't like knowing a band has a lot of talent and they do nothing. That really annoys me. Bullet for My Valentine. Anyway, so the guitarist is really good. A lot of solos. Sometimes he'll do two. The singer is pretty good. He's a pretty good singer. Musically, it's kind of metal, bit of rock, but it's very heavy. It can be quite technical. The songs are usually about. I don't think they're that long, so they don't change a lot. But yeah, it's a really good singer, really good guitarist. Quite a heavy sound. The guitarist can do really interesting grooves and everything. So yeah, I think you should check them out. Next, Blue Stahli. This is going to be a little difficult to explain. Blue Stahli is not really metal nor rock. He's not really a specific genre. Blue Stahli is a lot of genres. He can do metal, he can do rock, he can do kind of a punk type thing, he can do poppy things, he can do dance, trance type things. He does pretty much every genre, Blue Stahli. And it's all done by one guy, which I think should be commended. Because he's a multi-instrumentalist, so he does the singing, he does the background singing, he does the drums, he does the guitars, he does the bass, he does the programming, the keyboards and things. And yeah, so obviously the guy's extremely talented. He's a very good singer. He's not amazingly talented at one thing, so he's not a brilliant guitarist, he's not a brilliant drummer. He just can play all of it himself. And in an album, he can have a song like his first album, the first track is Ultra Numb. Quite screamy, very heavy, very catchy, with melodic parts. And then other songs, it can be a bit more dancey and poppy. And then other sounds, it's a bit screamy and metal. Other songs, it's kind of rock. So you get a fair bit of variety, and it's all done by the one guy. So it's different, because obviously he's got the kind of electronics put in there. But extremely talented guy, and I like it, personally, because it's different. And I like different because the music industry, you have so many rock and metal bands these days that it's kind of hard to have an identity. It's hard to stand out. So this is why I like Blue Stahli, because it's different to me. Next, Celldweller. This is kind of a continuation on Blue Stahli, because Celldweller is kind of the head. Celldweller came first, and he's a multi-instrumentalist, so exactly the same as Blue Stahli, but he's also a producer, he's an engineer, he has his own record label, he does things for games, so Dead Rising 2, I think he has one of his songs in there, maybe Dead Rising 1, but he's in games. I think he was in one of the Transformers or something, so very talented guy, own record label, producer and everything. So Blue Stahli is on his record label, and his first album was produced by the guy of Celldweller, who calls himself Clayton. So very talented guy. Now Celldweller is a bit different to Blue Stahli. Blue Stahli kind of focuses a bit more on the rock side. Now Blue Stahli, I'll say, he can do rock. He's more kind of orientated to rock. He's more of a rocker. Celldweller has a lot of variety. So if you kind of want just the more hard-hitting stuff, then Blue Stahli. If you want a really open, goes a lot of places, that'll be Celldweller. Celldweller's first album was really good. Switchback, extremely heavy, and then it breaks down near the end to a bit of rap, which I hate rap, but it was just a little bit, and I just thought, well, it's just different. And then he does it for a tiny bit, and then it ends with just an unbelievable scream, and then just goes back to the singing chorus with the electronics and the really heavy guitars. So very good. And then there's another song which it's just real heavy chugs on the guitar, and then it's just gotten kind of singing, and then it builds and it builds, and he just belts out screamo. So there's one track where he just screams nearly the entire thing. He's just screaming his head off. I'm not a big fan of screamo, but it's an album with a lot of tracks, a lot of variety, so I don't mind it because I just hear a difference. Screamo all the time I just think sounds extremely repetitive, but the way Celldweller does it, very good. Then there's another track which is very electronic based. I don't like electronic music, but again, that he has a few screams, subtle screams. He has a few subtle kind of guitar stuff. So while the electronic and dancing in the background, being very all dancey, and the speed singing, he can belt out a few screams and really hard hitting guitars, break down things. So it's very good. The second album, which he sings, because Blue Stallion and Celldweller do the singing albums and also instrumental albums. But I usually just listen to the singing ones, not the instrumentals. So Celldweller's second one, it's I didn't really like it. It's Wish Upon a Black Star. I didn't really like this one because it was more kind of the electronic side. He had guitars and everything. It was just a bit too electronic for me. I like the first album because it's everything. So there is a lot to listen to. But then the next one, End of an Empire, goes extremely heavy again, to a rappy type song, to kind of a dancey type song, to a melodic type of song with violins and things. You can play violin as well. Great album. And then his recent one is kind of like an acoustic album, so all kind of acoustics, melodic, with a bit of the electronics in there. Didn't really like that album. It sounds alright, it's just that the entire album, because it's all acoustic and all melodic, it's not why I like Celldweller. I like Celldweller because his songs are very long. Each song is different and different genres, and in them songs, because his tracks last a while, each individual song can span a fair few genres. So it can start with heavy, then go to electronic, then go to brutal screamy metal, then just go back to kind of rock. And that's why I like Celldweller. That's why he stands out to me. So his new album, it's just the one thing. So I find it kind of boring. Moving on, Cobra and the Lotus. This is done and a band made by the lead singer, Cobra. That is her actual name, apparently. Which is cool. I like that. So, Cobra. So, clearly a female. And she has a very good voice. It's very powerful. Not powerful like Tarja, kind of operatic. It's kind of brutal singing. Not yelling or anything. It's just, it is singing. It's just very kind of brutal and a little distorted. And it's very good. And she has a guitarist which does solos, so you got some solos. Her most recent album, I personally think her voice changes. Her most recent album, instead of going the really brutal, I'd like to say manly, but I don't want to be sexist. But basically, it is quite manly and brutal like that, and heavy and distorted. And her most recent album is a lot more feminine, a lot more beautiful in her singing, with a lot more range, especially. A lot more range. And I think she sounds a lot better because it's a lot more of a beautiful voice with a lot more range, so a lot more variety. The guitars, though, take a sit back, because he used to kind of solo on every single track, but in this album his solos are spread out quite far. There is one instrumental where he really shows off, so it's all kind of the guitar instrumental track, which is great and makes up for the lack of solos on the album, but I can still feel it. If a band is missing solos, I feel it, because I really listen out for solos, so I will know. It really ruins it for me. But the singer was very good, and there was an instrumental track. There is a few other solos, but overall he kind of ditched it. But yeah, there's a good band. Next band, Like a Storm. This is a band from a weird place. They're from New Zealand, and the lead singer can play the, hope I get this right, the didgeridoo. It's a big long sticky blows down. And the technique, which is very difficult, because I've tried it, and what you're supposed to do is you breathe through your nose and out through your mouth, and that keeps going round, so you never actually have to take a breath, because you're constantly going up through the nose and out through the mouth. Which very difficult. I have tried, and I didn't even have to try the breathing. I just couldn't even get a sound out of the thing. I would just blow, but nothing would happen. It would just kind of sound like I'm farting down a massive long pipe. So very difficult to actually make a sound happen, and then it's very difficult to do the breathing technique. A way some people do it is they submerge their mouth in water so it's there. So they breathe up through the nose and out through the mouth. If you try and breathe through the mouth, you just choke. That is a way some people do learn it. Probably not everyone, clearly. But that is a way some people try to do it. So obviously didgeridoo in the album, that's not really heard in a kind of rock metal band. So that is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And he has a really good voice. How would I explain their sound? It's very melodic. They can have their hard-hitting ones, but usually they kind of strip it back to a very nice melodic sound, with the singer being really nice and melodic. Kind of Breaking Benjamin style, but not as depressing. And so it's that really nice, sweet sounds, and then the chorus it comes, and it's really nice and heavy. He can do a few screams. It's not proper screams. It's just kind of like after the chorus, he just goes ah until the riff comes back and then starts again. And then he's got a few didgeridoo parts. The guitarist can do solos, not a lot. So again, I find it a problem because if you can do solos, then you can do it on every track. So if you're not doing it on every track, then I just think you're being, in my opinion, lazy. If you got the talent and you can do solos and you're just not doing them, then what are you doing? I just think it's just being lazy. But they're a band that's really good to listen to because it is a very nice sound. They're nice and melodic with a few hard-hitting tracks. He has a really nice voice, so it's quite a soothing band, something you can kind of relax to a bit, instead of just listening to really hard-hitting stuff. Next, Metal Light. This band's only released one album. And the way I'd explain this is it's a female singer, and it's got a fair bit of dance to it. It's kind of like Amaranthi, is the best way I'd say it. Now, Amaranthi are a pretty big band, so hopefully a lot of you kind of know what I'm getting at. But it's kind of Amaranthi without the male singer and without the stupid screamer. It's that is basically what it is. Amaranthi with just the female, which I think is brilliant. She has a voice which is just as good as Elisa Reed. I believe that's right. They have all the guitars and everything, and they have dancey stuff, so it's a really kind of nice, bright, heavy, uplifting sound, but really hard and aggressive at the same time. It's a really nice, beautiful sound. Different, unique again, for people who are bored of the same thing over and over and over again, which I do suffer from. So it's nice. And the guitarist, he does solos. So you do get your solos in there. So next, Mutiny Within. This is a band who I've been with from their first album, and they've struggled because after their first album they kind of stopped, and then the lead singer had to kind of come together and force pieces of sounds and try and finish a second album. So we were lucky to get that one. And then the band were kind of all missing. And then recently they've come together to do the third one. I'm not impressed with the third one. But let's just start with the first album. The lead singer is unbelievably great. He has so much range. He can do really high notes. There's one track, I can't remember it off by heart. It's the third track, I believe. When he comes in, he just goes, yeah! And it's so bright and it's so high. Kind of squeezing testicle type sound. Which, great. I like hearing a lot of range. I like hearing people with their balls being squeezed, but you know what I mean. I like hearing singers that have the talent to do that, because it's hard for a guy to do something that high, and he did it very well. And he's not just a high singer; he can do the lows. But he is a very kind of high-end singer. But he has a lot of range. He's very, very good. I want to make that clear. He is a very good singer. And there's guitar solos. They're nothing unbelievable, but they are very good solos. There's keyboards in there. So you get a few kind of key things coming through, which just gives the sound, it opens the sound up a bit, so it's not just the guitars and the heavy broody stuff. It kind of gives it a bit more lift, I'd say. The lead singer does put screams in. I don't mind it because they're very far and few between. Some songs, it's mostly he does nothing, and then there's the odd one where it's a few, and then there's somewhere there's a little bit more. And then there's one track which he really goes at it. I've deleted that one because I can't stand it. But overall, the entire album is brilliant. The second album, which they really struggled with, I would say it's a bit more melodic. Maybe, yeah, probably a bit more melodic, although there is 2 tracks on this album I had to delete because of the screams. But his voice changes it up a bit. It's a bit more musical. He gets a bit better with his vocals. So there's that. There's still the solos and everything. I think there may be a few he's missed. I'm not sure. I just know it could just be the fact that I'm thinking they really struggled with bringing this album together. It was really hard for them. Well, for the lead singer, I should say, Clancy. He's really suffered with making this band work. But his vocals are astounding again. There are solos there, but I'm pretty sure they're not as good as the first album. The keys are still there, making it a very open album. And then you got your 2 really heavy screamings, so if you're into that, then they are there. The third album, they all came back, so they're all together, making a big deal out of it. But he screams in every single track, and it's a fair bit of screamo. There's not really a track where it's like the first or the second album, where it's mostly singing with the few screams. A lot of people who listen to the third album, though, do say, oh, it's going back to their roots. I really disagree with that, because he did not scream like that in the first album. I'm sorry, but he didn't. And there was obviously the one track where he did, and that's pretty much where they're at. They're at the tracks of the ones I deleted. The tracks I actually listened to, it's nothing alike, because he sings way more. The overall sound is kind of changed as well. The keys are very aggressive. They make themselves known, and they're not soft and pretty. They're pretty hard in. The keyboards do get leads in there, though, as well as the guitar. So the keys do show off a bit, which I think loses its essence. But it's a different sound for them, so they should do that instead of copying the same thing. But I would have rather him not fill it with screaming, because that's not why I liked them. I liked them because it was a great voice with the few screams there, just to give it, you know, a bit of variety. And it was a very nice sound with guitar solos. I really liked the band, but that third album, I just couldn't get into it. So hopefully their fourth album, he's a great singer, so I think screaming when you have a voice like that just ruins it. Let your voice be heard, man. Next, Miraf. This is a very, very good band. Very good. They're Tunisian. Yeah. And their first album, very metal. And the keyboards have very long solos. The guitars have very long solos. Some of them last like 3 bloody minutes. Seriously, the singer just drops out and you're just like, God, this is going on forever. And I like guitar solos and keyboards, but God, they really do a lot. So if you like keyboard solos and guitar solos, the first Miraf album has it in spades. There is so much there. The lead singer, very aggressive in his delivery. Good voice though, very good. Second album, a bit more open. Still kind of metal, and still full of keyboard solos, guitar solos. The singer's voice is not as aggressive. It kind of sounds like an entirely different singer. It isn't, it's the same singer. I've had to actually look it up because I didn't believe it myself. I'm like, rubbish, it's not, you're lying to me. It's the same singer, which I'll say, that clearly means there's a lot of range in this guy's voice. And damn there is if that's the case. Because it's so different, it's so much more brighter. And, just bright. Instead of the dark, heavy sound he had in the first. So that's basically the difference. The sound is not as brutal and heavy. It's a bit more of an open sound. So the first album was kind of brutal and technical. The second album is still technical, but it's a nice, more bright sound. The third album, which a lot of their fans say is the best, I really like it as well. It's kind of metal, but a bit more modern and streamlined. So basically kind of radio friendly. There's guitar solos still there, but they don't really last. I don't think there's any keyboard solos in it. I don't know why. But from what I can remember, I think there may have been one. But it's mostly guitar, and it's shortened, but he still shreds really well. And there is a few melodic solos, but this guy really has a lot of talent. He's a great guitarist. The singer is unbelievable. He is such a fantastic singer. And in this album, with each album, they add their Tunisian sound to it. So the first album didn't really have it. Second album kind of had it. This album, they really start bringing it in. And so it sounds kind of Tunisian. It's kind of like an Indian type sound. So that is extremely unique. Like a metal band that has Tunisian sounds in it, that is so cool, so unique. And the guitarist is so technical and so talented, and the singer is unbelievably talented. He has a great voice, it's really good. The next album, which is the latest one they've released, kind of goes a bit more rock based, so not as heavy. It's a lot more melodic. The singer tries a lot more. There's a lot more effort he's putting in, a lot more range, a lot more just kind of the band take a sit back so his voice can be heard. So there's that. But because of that, the guitarist doesn't really do solos on every track, which is a disappointment for me. He takes a sit back. There's still a few solos here and there. They're quite short still. But then there's the tracks where he just goes without it. But the lead singer is very, very good. There's a lot of variety on the album. It's more rock than metal, as I said. And the singer's really trying. The Tunisian sound is pushed unbelievably in this album. They bring backup Tunisian singers in and all sorts. It's pretty grand. It's pretty epic. So Miraf, one of my favourite bands. The guitarist is unbelievable. The keyboard's very talented. The singer has so much range. It's unbelievable. If you really want a great singer, Miraf has it. If you want a great guitarist, Miraf has it. If you want a band where they change it up every album, like Iron Maiden or Avenged Sevenfold, Miraf. Their first album was really heavy metal and very technical, with really long solos, with keyboards and guitars. The second album, a lot more kind of melodic metal, but still very technical. Then a kind of modernised hard metal and things with a Tunisian sound. Then the new one is kind of rock with a lot of Tunisian culture thrown in there, with a lot from the vocals, a lot of great vocal delivery with a bit of a sit back on the guitars. They do a bass solo. There's one song that has a bass solo just randomly there. I wouldn't say it's anything groundbreaking, fantastic, but it just goes and shows that they still have more, and the amount of talent they have. It's a great band, and you should definitely check them out. Next, Orianthi. Orianthi was the last guitarist of Michael Jackson. She's been with Alice Cooper. She's been one of his guitarists. She's done work with Steve Vai. If you don't know who that is, Steve Vai is one of the legends on guitar. He is known as a legend. It's not basically, well, that's your opinion. He is known as a legend. Like Gary Gilmore, Joe Satriani, you know, all them greats. My dad said Joe Satriani taught Steve Vai. This is true or not? I'm not sure. Orianthi. Female, surprisingly. Clearly, Orianthi. So, her first album is mostly instrumental. There is a few tracks which are instrumental, and she's a guitarist, and she's worked with Steve Vai and things, and they love her, so what I'm getting at is she's very good. She is a very good guitarist. And because she's female, I think this brings a bit more beauty to her playing towards what men are capable of. It's just such a nice sound she has. She plays PRS, which I think is a guitar make, which are very good with the kind of bluesy rock, but can also do the extreme heavy metal stuff. So I think PRS is best at everything. I think they're a very versatile guitar. So this is what Orianthi plays, and because of it, she can do real nice blues, real nice jazz sounds. She can do the metal, she can do the shred, and it all sounds brilliant, mostly because of her playing and how talented she is, as well as the guitar she's chosen as well. She also sings. She has an incredible voice. She's Australian. I think her voice is extremely sexy, even when she's just talking. It's just, God, her voice is gorgeous. But she's a very talented singer, and really good at guitar playing. Her second album, there's not really instrumental tracks. There's one that she does with Steve Vai, the legend. So it's her and Steve Vai going at it together on the guitar. But the rest of the tracks on her second album, Believe, they're kind of pop based. As for her first album, when she started singing, it was kind of more bluesy. This one, it's definitely pop type of sound. She does her guitar solos and everything, but yeah, first album I think was a bit better, but this one is kind of pop rock type of thing with the solos. And then her most recent one, I forgot the name of it, Hell something, I think it is. But this is her most recent one. She's only had 3 albums. This is more rock based, so kind of rock with a bit of blues and a bit of pop in there. No instrumental, and she does her bluesy solo, she does kind of jazzy solo, she does her kind of rocky type solos. All singing, as I said. So, yeah, very good. Great singer. Very pretty sound. So if you really want something, listening to Orianthi, the kind of theme I kind of get it, where you should play it is if it's kind of summer and the sun's blazing and you have a car where the roof can retract and you play Orianthi. I feel like that is the best place. Just top down in summer in the car, going through trees or have the sea next to you. Orianthi fits that perfectly. That's the kind of sound she is. She's just extremely pretty sound. And next band. Orianthi's not a band, it's just obviously her. There is a band behind her, but it's her. So next band, Sunburst. They've only done one album. And their guitarist is damn incredible. This guitarist is very, very, very fast. That's not all he is. He's not Dragon Force. He can do the melodic stuff, but he really does enjoy showing how quick he is, and he is very, very fast. The singer is he's a very good singer. I prefer a bit more variety in the vocals. I think his voice it's kind of deep, so I don't think it's difficult for a deep voice to have variety. Well, it may not be, it's just the way I feel. I think I prefer a bit of a brighter voice, personally. So his voice is a bit, it's kind of deep and things. And the guitarist, as I said, extremely talented. So this is why Sunburst are up. Great singer, and the guitarist is unbelievably gifted. So if you like good singers and very, very good guitarists, Sunburst. Next is Theocracy. This singer is very, 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 very talented. He has a brilliant voice. Usually around Christmas, they do a Christmas song. There's one called Christmas Fever, I believe, which is a story which doesn't have talking in it. And it's basically the son of Father Christmas is in love with a snow girl. And Father Christmas doesn't want them to be together because when it turns into summer she'll melt away. And he's like, but I love her, I love her, I love her. But Father Christmas is like, well, if you stay in love with her, I'll cancel Christmas. So then Christmas gets cancelled and everyone's going about their day on Christmas Day, just working. Nothing Christmas at all. So then the son and his girlfriend try and run away, but Santa comes out with the hairdryer, calling her a ho-ho-ho, which was kind of funny in the song. Guitar solos when he's chasing her with the hairdryer. And the song has chapters to it, so they keep changing down to the kind of overall theme they're going with, the kind of vibe. So you get, at the end, they get together and they restore Christmas, so it's nice and uplifting. And then you have his girlfriend melted and everything. So it's this kind of gloomy, bluesy type sound where he's kind of drinking his problems away. So, yeah, so they do that. Their albums, Theocracy is a religious band. I don't believe in religion at all. I just listen to them because they're very talented. But a lot of their songs is down to religion. Like one of their songs is I Am, which is basically... It's quite repetitive, to be fair, to be honest, because it's just I am, I am, I am, I am, and he's just basically saying God is everything. So God is power, God is mercy, God is death incarnate, God is just everything. So that is pretty much what they're like. So lyrically, if you're into that, then it's there. If you're not, just don't pay attention to the lyrics. Just pay attention to the voice. His voice is really good. There's a guitarist which does great guitar stuff. The tracks are quite open, have a bit of length to them. So you get a bit of variety in the songs. So really nice. He has a very high-end voice, I'll say. Next band, Through Fire. This is just one album. they've done through Fire. But this guy's voice is very, very unique. Very unique. I like it, but some other people I can see may not. But I think it's a very good voice. It's very catchy. It's very catchy music. Great sound they have. They have melodic sounds, which is very, very nice. Guitar-wise, they do have a guitarist which can do solos. Again, not in every single song, but I appreciate it. Next band, Unleash the Archers. Some people know about this band, but when I went to see them live, their tickets were like $5, and they were playing in just some pub or something. So, even though their most recent album has received a lot of acclaim for how good it is, yeah, clearly it's not doing enough. So I'm gonna say them. If people are thinking, well, people do know about them, I think people should know more about them. Their most recent album is a concept. The beginning of the album, there's no talking. The concept of this album, the thing with this band is it's very kind of medieval sounding through every album, which kind of irritates me. I don't really like bands that have the medieval sound, but this new album they've released, the story I can easily follow. It. It's this kind of godlike creature, guy, man thing who lives in the side of a mountain, and he stays there until he's summoned. So he does not move. That is his life until he's summoned, and then he just does his job and he goes back there, and that is his life. Pretty much lonely and sad. But this person wakes him up to come to her. When he gets to her, she wants to have a lot of power and live forever or something. So she says, go and find my 3 sons, I think, maybe 4, and bring them to me, and I'll rip their hearts out and eat them or something when the planets align, and that'll give me the strength. Each son has their own song. So one of them is a wimp and just tries to get his way out of it, cries his way out of it. Another one, he has an army, and it's basically saying the guy's a coward because he has all these people to fight and die for him, and he hides behind them. He will not fight. He just cowers behind them, just like the army in these days. The only reason they're put there is because people tell them to, and they won't go themselves. It's easy to have the power and just go, well, we want more land, or we want this country, or we want this. Just send them, because what's it going to do to us? Nothing. So, may as well, you know. What are they going to do about it? So, I believe that's what the singer was getting at with this song as well. And at the end, the guy just does as he's told, brings them all to her. She says, if you do this, I will take this burden off you, I will grant you freedom. So he's hopeful, but he is kind of, he's unsure. But she gets all the power, she does it, and she's like, no, you're staying the way you are, to hell with you. So at the end, she just gets all this unbelievable power. She's extremely powerful and obviously a dark, evil person. And he just goes back to his mountain, which is his. It's the only thing he's really connected to. So even though it's kind of like a prison, it's also sanctuary to him, which as the singer tries to get along. So great story, and it ends there. And the singer, I think, has hinted to a sequel. So that's great. So that's that. The lead singer, she has a very powerful voice. Her voice has got a lot of power. She used to sing in a choir, and she used to do the high-end ones, I believe. She said she can do high unbelievably easy. She doesn't find it difficult. She finds lows difficult, I think she said. So there's not a lot of lows, there's a lot of highs. And she belts them out really well. A lot of power in her voice. So it's not one of these bands where the female, because I do find when females come into a metal band, usually when it's the riff, the guitars will cut out and it's just the bass. Because if the guitars were chugging along, it would kind of drown out the female voice, because it's not heavy enough to keep up. That's a problem with females in metal. My dad has also mentioned it, saying the problem with females in metal is their voice, and a lot of them can't keep up with it. So what they do is guitars cut out in the riff, and then they come back in the chorus. But it has to be a very open sound to abide by some of these females. But Unleash the Archers, her voice is so powerful, she can deal with it. So the guitars and everything are just going at it, and she's unaffected. She takes it easy. So very good. Very good vocals. Obviously good lyrics. Some decent messages in the album. There's going to be a sequel. Each song flows together quite well. It could flow a bit better. It's kind of like chapters as it kind of comes to its end. So it could be better. Although everything can be better. Nothing's ever perfect. The guitarist does solos on every track. He's very good. They do have screams in it. It's not a lot, but they can be there. I feel they should not be there at all. Like when I first heard the music video for the first track on the album, I was just like, God, this girl is so good. Her voice is so powerful. Like, you're blown away by how much power her voice has. And then it comes to the guy and he's just screaming his head off. I'm like, will you shut up? Seriously, shut up. You're ruining it. You just see so much talent, and then it's just this guy burping down the microphone. And it was really bad. They've done albums before this one, and they're not concepts or anything. They're just kind of medieval sounds, and the screams have a bit more of a presence. As the albums go on and on and on, the screams get less and less and less. So the further back, obviously, I think the worse it gets. So I've only really got this album. And I can't wait for the next one. Hopefully they continue the way they are. The sound quality of the previous albums as well wasn't up to par. This album, they really went out to try and get the quality of the sound in there. So, yeah, that's them. Woven War. This is a band who were formed by a death metal band. I forgot their name, but I didn't like them, and the reason why they formed this band was the lead singer put a hit out on his wife. Clearly a good person, good at heart. If we were all more like him, the world would be a better place, clearly. So, yeah, he got arrested. The band couldn't continue under that name because it was all tainted and everything. Although I think they actually are going to come together again because he's out. I think terrible idea. But they came together and got a new singer. And the music is not death metal, it's just more kind of a metal rock album. With singing, not really any screaming. There's screaming on a few tracks. But it's not, okay, on this track there's a lot, on this track there's a lot. It's like one or two, and it's very minor, hardly anything there. But the guitarist, he does leads throughout everything. He shows off so much. His leads don't really sound like much of anything because he puts them kind of in the background, but you really listen out for them. He is really going at it, being extremely technical. And it's not just pure shred. It sounds really bright and nice, but he really goes at it. And his solos don't really last that long. His solos are very short, and by short I mean short. But his solos, he does tell you what he's made of, so he does do it. But they are very short, and they're not every track. There is the odd track where he misses them out, which again, he's so good. I don't know why he does it. I don't know why you would miss a solo, because then I'm just like, well, the song has less because it does not have the solo. So, very disappointing. So, the guitars, so much leads. There's leads throughout the whole song. It's not just a lead guitar solo. He does lead intros with solos in the intros, then an actual solo at the near the end of the song where they usually are. He does leads on the riff. He's doing leads in the chorus with the rhythm playing underneath him. There's a lot there. He's really good. The lead singer has a very good voice, really good. There is a lot of tracks on this album, but I don't know if it goes near 15. There is a fair lot of them. It's not a long album. It's in the 15 minutes or something like that. But every track has a bit of a different sound. Like the last track on the album, I believe, is very heavy. Not with screams or anything. It's just a really heavy song with normal singing. And some of them, it's very kind of punk rock type of sound. A lot of them, it's kind of melodic rock, and then a lot of them is just normal metal or heavy metal. As I said, near the end of the album, he goes very heavy. So there is a lot there. But the fans of the previous band, I think, ruined it. They said, oh my god, it's not heavy. It is heavy. Listen to the last track. That last track is heavy. So what the band basically did with that is the second album, which was terrible, they were like, okay, we'll just scream. So they screamed. There wasn't leads, apart from a solo. It was just a lot of chugs. That was it. We're screaming. And then everyone complained, well, this is lazy. This ain't heavy. And that's the thing. Screaming does not make it heavy. It's just screaming. If you scream along to Lady Gaga, does that make it heavy? No, because everything there is not heavy. It's basically just screams underneath something that sounds really, really bright and cheerful. And that is not what makes it heavy. Metallica is heavy. They don't scream. Megadeth is heavy. They don't scream. Iron Maiden is heavy. They don't scream. Avenged Sevenfold is heavy. They don't scream. Screamo is not the only thing that makes you heavy, or extremely talented, as Woven War clearly proved with this album. The guy screamed, and underneath it, there was not much going on at all. It was just chugs, and no leads, and nothing technical. They just stripped it all out for screaming. The songs hardly lasted, and the songs were very short. There wasn't really anything going on. There were screams that sounded terrible. The lead vocals took a sit back. He didn't put as much effort into it. And the solos, I think he even missed some solos on songs again. But then he was hardly showing off as he did. It was just chugs, doing very simplistic things that a lot of guitarists could pull off. It's nothing hard or tricky. The album was very short as well, like 38 minutes. It was pathetic. They should have left it alone. Get rid of the bloody screamo and go back to what you were doing. If you want to be heavy, just do more songs like the end of your first album. That was heavy. Anyway, moving on. Just listen to the first album. Second album, it was pretty bad. Even the fans who asked for it didn't even like it because they don't know what they're talking about. So next, Wearing Scars. Now the band I mentioned before, Mutiny Within. This was a while ago, so you probably don't remember. But the lead singer of Mutiny Within, is the lead singer of Wearing Scars. And they have a phenomenal guitarist, Andy James, who used to be in Sacred Mother Tongue. He used to be a guitar teacher on Total Guitar. I think it was Total Guitar. He was a guitar teacher, so he's very good. Them two came together to make a band together because Andy liked his vocals and he liked his guitar playing. So they came together to make Wearing Scars. Now, it's all singing in this album. He doesn't do his screams like he does in Mutiny Within. He says Mutiny Within is his heavy album. This is more of his rock album. And it is. Wearing Scars is definitely more rock-based. Mutiny Within is definitely more of the metal, shoved in with a lot of showing off stuff. Wearing Scars is very kind of stripped down. Great vocals, obviously. The vocals are still very, very, very good. The sound is a lot more simplified and basic. But the solos, very good solos. It is Andy James. But because it's Andy James, I just expect kind of a bit more outside of the solos to go on instead of just the basic stuff. But very good album. The title track, Wearing Scars, that song is unbelievably beautiful. It is such a beautiful track. So, yeah, great vocals. The solos are brilliant. The self-titled is a very beautiful song. They do have their heavy tracks as well in there. It's not really brutal heavy stuff. It's just, you know, the heavy rock stuff. And then I'll finish this off. This is a very long video. I was hoping for it to be less than half an hour. This is ridiculous. Man the Mighty. I've recently found this band. And, yeah, the first album, the singer, very good. He's a very good singer, the guitarist. He does solos. They're very good solos. He can do the shred, but he doesn't show it off a lot. He can be very simple in his solos, being very simple, very melodic, and then you'll put a bit of a whittle there to show off. And some of the tracks he can do some really nice kind of leads, like the first track, Ghosts. That intro riff, it's not hard, but it sounds kind of technical. It sounds pretty cool. It's not just normal, you know, chord playing and chugs and things. So he can do leads here and there, not all the time. And then his solos, they're in every track, I think. As I said, they're kind of just new to me. I can't really download the album, so I just listen to it off Spotify every now and then. So it's not as in my head as the others. But it's kind of melodic rock, melodic metal. So they can be heavy, but the voice and everything, they just kind of tune it down. So even though they're trying to be heavy, it has a very nice kind of undertow to it. And then there's the typical songs where his voice just goes really soothing and everything's really nice. Yeah, it's a heavy album, but the overall sound is very nice and mellow. And his voice is really nice. It's really good, his voice. The guitar riffs and things, they can be catchy, same with the choruses. Very catchy, very memorable. The guitarist can show off at times, but not a lot. The solos, they're pretty good. They're not unbelievable. He's not a fantastic guitarist, but he does what he does. So I give him credit for that, and I like it, and he should keep doing it. Other than the first album, the only other thing they have is an EP. The EP I don't like as much as the album. Reason is it doesn't have that nicer sound. It's a lot more kind of, we are just hard hitting, but it sounds a bit, because of that, it sounds a bit more typical to what everyone else does. Like the first album was a bit more kind of unique in what it was doing. Now, because it's just kind of the hard hitting without the nice undertow to it, it's a bit typical, I'll say. But it's just an EP. I don't really focus on EPs. I just focus on albums. I think that's where the majority of people put their talent into. So we'll see. So there, a few bands there with a description to each of them. All don't really have that much in the way of a fan base. So, and they deserve it, I think. So hopefully you can find a new band you can appreciate. Maybe just one, maybe all of them. But I think they deserve it. And hopefully you agree, because I do. I would like to see them be bigger and get what they deserve. So I'll end this now because this is a very long video. So thank you for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe. I don't want to sell out like this, but in these early days it really does help. So if you like, subscribe, and if you kind of like things like this, comment, just saying what else you would kind of like me to cover, what would you like me to say. If you like the video, leave a like. If you don't hit the dislike button. They're just opinions, so please, I'd rather you not. But yeah, if you want to see more and me cover things, then subscribe. And if you like the video, leave a like, and it really would mean a lot to me. So thanks for watching. I'll see you later.